So this is my domain and intent classification video for the chatbot and walkthrough of the key parts of the implementation of the two domains. And let's start by demonstrating the domain classification. So if we hit run, the chatbot will be right here on the screen. So the first message we are going to type is an in-domain message for weather. So the domain is weather and the intent is weather report. So if I type in what's the weather forecast for today, it will come up as the domain is weather and then the intent is weather report. Now for an in-domain message for food, which will be or actually for the weather, it would be this code right here. So we have the weather report for rain and snow, and these were the intents that were given in task 2-1. We use a private method for the string, and then we use a public string that calculates the intent scores. We also use an array for both the food intent and the weather intent classifier. So if we go back to the chatbot and run it, if we ask an in-domain message for food, the domain will be food and then the intent is find food. And if I type in I want to order pizza for dinner, the domain will still come up as food and the intent will be to order food, not find food. And if we try an out of domain message like what is the capital of the United States, the chatbot will reply back with the message that says this message is out of the domains of the chatbot. So as we can see, the chatbot correctly identifies the weather domains and the food domains, and it also recognizes when a message is out of the domain of the chatbot. So now let's demonstrate the intent classification within each domain. So for the weather domain, we have three intents. We have the weather report, the rain, and the snow. So if I go to the chatbot and type in will it rain tomorrow, the domain or the chatbot will recognize that the domain is weather and that the intent is rain. If I ask is it going to snow this weekend, as you can see, the chatbot recognizes that the domain is weather and that the intent is snow. And for the temperature, if I type in what is the temperature for today, the chatbot will recognize that the domain is weather and that the intent is weather report. So now for the food domain, we have two intents, which is find food and order food. These were the intents given in task 1 of the assignment. So if we run the chatbot, if I type in the chatbot, where can I find a good Italian restaurant? I made a spelling mistake. Where can I find a good Italian restaurant. There we go. So if I type in where can I find a good Italian restaurant, the domain will be food, and then the intent will be to find food. And if I type in I would like to order Chinese food for delivery, in the chatbot will recognize that the domain is food and that the intent is to order food. So as you can see, the chatbot correctly identifies the specific intents within each domain. So the key parts of the implementation, so in the chatbot class, we have the main get response method, right here. It first determines the domain using the domain classifier. Then based on the domain, it either uses the weather intent classifier or the food intent classifier to determine the specific intent. The domain classifier uses keyword matching to score each domain. It checks for weather related words like temperature and forecast, rain, snow, sunny. And the domain classifier for the food intent searches for words like food, eat, restaurant, hungry, meal. And the keyword-based approach allows for the chatbot to quickly categorize the user key inputs on the chatbot and respond by classifying the input into a domain and then the intent for that domain. So overall, the implementation can be seen right here and here.